What are you still salty about? In a 5th grade science test, the question was, are there any stars in the solar system? I answered yes. Teacher marked it wrong. I went up afterwards and said, what about the sun? He said he meant that all the other stars are not in our solar system and kept it marked wrong. What a nerd. The teacher, I mean, not the student. When I was in high school, someone tagged up the school. They announced there would be a reward for anyone who rats anyone out. I get called in the office and find out I'm suspended for vandalization. I didn't do it and had no idea who. 4 days later, I'm allowed to come back to school because they found who actually did it. I just got an apology. Me and some others in primary school were saying the biggest numbers we knew of. Everyone was saying like 100,000 and 1,000,000, and then I'm like 1,000,000,000,000, and they refused to believe it was a real number. Being charged $1,000 for a battery and alternator change. They also destroyed my starter motor in the process and rounded a bunch of my bolts. They left tools in the engine bay. I don't even have that car anymore, and I'm still salty. I would be too. They borderline ruined your car. 3 months ago, I went on maternity leave. The woman hired to cover for me was being paid $3 more than I'm currently paid. She was going to be kept on as a full-time accounting assistant after I returned, but she couldn't keep up with my daily tasks and completely fucked up several databases that I had to correct when I returned to work the following month. When I asked for a raise, they offered me 50 cents after telling me how crucial I am to the structure of the company. Needless to say, I'm looking for a new job. Our wedding photographer left part of their lens cap on, so every photo is shrouded in a massive black ring. No good photos from the wedding. Oh, that is such a bummer. Ugh. Hey, howdy, hey everybody, my name's Brandon and welcome back to Ask EmKay. Owners of Volkswagen Beetles, how do you feel knowing that when you drive your car, countless people punch each other for being the first to see it? Driving next to a school is priceless. All the kids punching each other never fails to make me laugh. Now that is one sadistic little guy or girl. I take a joyride, not for myself, but for the tradition. It's one of the reasons I got it. At least they're being honest. When I was in middle school, the school bus would drive by a used VW car lot. It was like Fight Club on wheels. If you're not dodging bad grades, then you're dodging fists apparently at this school. I have no siblings, and so I got into a violent altercation in elementary school when a kid decided to teach me that game with no warning. Yeah, I'd probably be about on the same page, not knowing about this game and then getting hit out of nowhere. That would cause some problems. It was always funny to see it happen, like sitting at a stoplight and the 12-ish-year-old girl slugging the crap out of maybe her older brother. You could see the gleam in her eyes as she punched him in the arm. I sold my Bug several years back. I missed that car. Maybe they'll bring them back to the States in another 10 or so years. Are they not in America anymore? I didn't know that. What is the greatest kit? I'll do it myself. In history, let's not forget that Isaac Newton ran out of math to work with and was like, I guess I'll just invent calculus then. Yeah, and Isaac Newton was also the kid at the end of class like, hey, you didn't give us homework. Ugh. Otis invented pretty much what we consider the modern elevator. Nobody was convinced it was safe, so he hoisted himself up extremely high and had somebody cut the cable with an axe to prove how confident he was that the elevator was safe, regardless of almost worst case scenarios. Everyone doubted this guy and he really pulled out the Uno reverse card. In 1888, Almon Brown Strauger, an undertaker, noticed he was losing a lot of business to the other undertaker in town. He found out that the other undertaker's wife was a telephone operator, and when she intercepted people asking to be connected to Strauger's funeral home, the operator would route the call to her husband's funeral home instead. 3 years later, Strauger patented the automatic teller exchange, a system which allowed telephone users to make calls without the need for human operators, single-handedly destroying an entire workforce. You learn something new every day. Cliff Stahl, the cuckoo's egg, noticed weird traffic on his university servers. No one believed him that there was any risk occurring. Ended up uncovering a major hacking attempt to steal missile designs and basically created internet security. I think it was a missile design. It's been a long time. You see, why couldn't Zuckerberg be that cool? Jon Snow, not that one, the father of epidemiology. No one believed him that the cholera outbreak in what is now Soho was because of a contaminated water pump. He broke it. They arrested him for vandalism and held him until the outbreak suddenly ended. Imagine sitting in that cell like, you don't understand, I just saved everyone, and they're still like, yeah, whatever, you criminal. Brian Acton interviewed at Facebook and got turned down. He said fuck it and built WhatsApp. Several years later, Facebook bought WhatsApp for $19 billion. Yeah, stick it to the Zuck man. What is a good weakness to mention on a job interview? What is your greatest weakness? Probably that I have no strengths. I've tried that one, it doesn't work. So, why do you want to work here? I'd say my greatest weakness is listening. Sounds like a man to me. I have a hard time saying no. Probably don't say say that one because they'll just work you until you die. If you're changing industries, your biggest weakness is not knowing the industry yet. If you are younger, say inexperience. Anything to show your willingness to learn and develop. For my current job, I said that I had a hard time sharing my ideas with new groups. Probably not the best weakness to mention, especially if you go into, say, something like marketing. I'm terrible at interviews. You and me both, sister. What are you supposed to do when having happy birthday sung to you? My suggestion is sit there like a dead fish, but let's see what other people did. Stare at the cake. Correct. Block everyone out. Only stare at the cake. That has been your goal for the whole year. Sing back under your breath and make eye contact with only one person. That's the real gift of a birthday, is making someone uncomfortable. Closed mouth smile and wide eyes scanning the room. That just makes it sound like you're being held hostage, which honestly, you kind of are. Blend in the crowd and sing with them. I don't know how much that would work because you'd be sat at the end of the table, they'd all be looking at you, you can't really disappear. If it works, it works. Overthinkers of Reddit. What unlikely scenario actually came true that you were completely prepared for because you're an overthinker? I always carry a small sewing kit whenever I go to a wedding. I have sewed 2 brides into their dresses so far. That's actually a very thoughtful thing to do, just in case there might be some issues. That you're a nice person. When my son was still a baby, we had to take an 11-hour flight. As an overthinker, I brought at least 25 diapers for him to go through. He didn't need that many, but the mom sitting close to us was very grateful when she ran out of diapers not even halfway through the flight, and I gave her a few. It's stories like these that really prove to me that there are some good people, but only some. One time, I way overthought a concern I had around dryer vent fire. When the time came that we had a clog, didn't know, and there was a wee burst of flames, I was ready. Such a nice feeling when you thought you were crazy, but you weren't. I carry scissors in my glove compartment. They came in handy when a kid tightened a skinny zip tie around my 9-year-old's finger at a park. Completely cut off the circulation. Also, the other kid's mom was a nurse, so that was helpful too. Carry scissors and a nurse at all times. The scissors I can handle, but I don't know if I could stuff a full human being into my glove compartment. That seems a little excessive. I bought and learned to use a Slim Jim, open lock cars. I carry one in my car and have been able to help no less than 10 people who have locked their keys in their car. My brother was visiting me from out of town and he needed something from Target. He called me and said an elderly man had locked his keys in his car and I was able to drive over and help. Also have jumper cables that have helped start a few stranded drivers. Not gonna lie, when I read Slim Jim, I really thought he just meant he went to the gas station and just bought one of the Slim Jim beef stick things and that was opening locked cars. I don't even understand. I don't know. Postal workers of Reddit, what do you need right now? How can we brighten your day when we see you on your routes? Husband delivers mail and he loves just about anything people do. From pictures drawn from kids along the route to thank you letters to cold water and ding-dongs. He's appreciative of it all. Just remember folks, next time you see your mailman, be sure to give him a big fat sloppy wet kiss. For me, of course. Keep in mind that mail carriers don't have air conditioning in their vehicles. There was one that got baked alive in California last year. The collection drivers don't have AC as well, but they don't hit the residential areas for the most part. Oh my god, that's horrible. I guess that explains why they usually have their doors wide open. Former carrier here. Had one house that always left me a bottle of ice cold water. Highlight of that route. My father has been a postal worker for decades. What makes him smile the most is when people just reach out and be nice and friendly. He would always tell us stories about the people who would put a smile on his face. Notes/cards go a long way, but also just say hi and ask them how their day is going. Never underestimate how much a small act of kindness can really just brighten somebody's day. Former mail carrier here. Number 1, get a bigger mailbox. Water and treats are nice, but a box they don't have to get out at to deliver things is the gift that keeps on giving. If I didn't live in an apartment, I would definitely take that advice because anything to make somebody's job easier, it's worth it. Stop blocking the mailbox when you park on the street. I never thought about it, but next time I will definitely make sure to avoid the mailbox. What has simultaneously gotten worse and more expensive? One thing's for sure, that would be gas. Gas prices going up and it's still killing the earth? Come on. Big Macs. That burger patty is a stone's throw away from being a slice of roast beef. Might as well just go to Arby's at that point. Ugh, gross. Cable/internet providers. Oh yeah, sorry, your trial period was over. Your bill went up $200. Oh no, we didn't promise you 200 megabits download speed constantly. We said up to. Read the fine print. Ugh, that's just reminding me of what I have to deal with. Cable television. More commercials, channels upon channels of crap. Ridiculous bill. Do people even still get cable television with how many streaming services there are? It's unnecessary. I swear that Reese's peanut butter cups have gotten worse over the years. The peanut butter butter seems chalkier and the chocolate tastes blander. Plus, I can't ever seem to pry them out of that little cup wrapper without leaving the bottom chocolate skin stuck to it. I think the push to put them in the freezer and eat them chilled is a ploy to cover the declining quality. Interesting, you've got a good theory going there. I myself am not that much of a Reese's fan, but this does seem very possible. As someone shopping for a house, I have to say, homes. Not only has the real estate market been ridiculously inflated, especially in New York City, my residence, I'm finding the actual quality of a lot of these homes are absolute crap. Due to the ability to find and source cheap materials and labor, developers are able to make huge profits off high prices and low costs. It makes me really rethink if I want to buy a house, or just use all that money to aggressively invest. My advice would maybe be don't buy a house in New York City. As nice as it may be, you can find a lot better houses for a lot cheaper. Buffalo Wild Wings. I don't know if it's just me, but their prices have gone up and the quality has gone down. I haven't been to Buffalo in a while, but last time I had it, it was okay. I'll have to give it a shot to see if they're onto something. Clothes. Very few companies make clothes to last, and fast fashion is rising while the cost of items continue to increase. That's why I just stick with the classics. I got a whole closet full of old GameStop t-shirts I got in middle school, so I'm set for life. Doctors of Reddit. What's the biggest case of faking it you've ever seen? Dermatologist here. Patient was convinced she had a melanoma and needed a biopsy and would need to be on workers' comp. I told her it looked like ink from a marker. She demanded a biopsy. I wiped the area off with an alcohol swab and showed her the ink and that there was no spot on her skin anywhere. She stormed out, threatening to sue. I'm just glad I cured her melanoma. I appreciate her hustle, but you kinda got caught in your lie, so you gotta admit it. Had a patient come in for a fall who now couldn't move their legs at all. Did a bunch of tests, didn't find anything. The patient was not at all phased or suddenly being paralyzed, which was the first red flag. Didn't really believe anything was wrong, but the patient was still not moving their legs. My options are to admit for a huge workup or get them to walk. So I update them saying everything is fine. Tests are negative. You can go home. Patient gets up, gets dressed, and walks out without a word. At least that patient knew when to fold them because they were caught red-handed more or less. We had a patient faking a seizure, so my supervisor told one of us to get the brain needle. The patient made a miraculous and swift recovery without intervention. Yeah, that's probably a good way to catch someone. Threaten a massive needle. Yeah, that's gonna get me jumping and probably running. Physical therapist here. Working mom comes into the clinic with her infant in a stroller. She's limping like she's got a nail in her foot, wincing in pain and tears in her eyes. She's crying during her visit with the PT. None of us think she's faking it. She limped out of the clinic. I glanced out the window and saw this woman bounding down the sidewalk, hips swaying, full stride, going places. She's a strong, independent woman with her baby. She doesn't need no physical therapist. Whenever we had kids, usually teenagers, playing up their symptoms to extend their hospital stay, we would order them into a healthy lifestyle. Lights out at 9, no screen time for 2 hours before bedtime. Healthy diet chock full of fruits and vegetables, screen time limits, minimum number of laps around the unit per day to get in their exercise. They got better so much faster with our healthy lifestyle tips. Those teens thought they were slick until they had them doing PE at the ER. What golden nugget of information do you have to share? In the center courtyard of the Pentagon, you don't have to salute superior officers. It's a recreation lunch area and you'd basically spend the whole time saluting, so it's not required there. Source: my uncle, a Navy corpsman who currently works at the Pentagon. Obviously I've never been inside, but I'm inclined to believe them. Stonehenge, the most famous henge, isn't actually a henge. A henge is a Neolithic earthworks, oval or circular in shape, sometimes containing wooden or stone structures and surrounded by a perimeter of a bank with internal ditch. So the famous stones of Stonehenge aren't even a necessary part of a henge, just an optional extra. But more importantly, the bank and ditch at Stonehenge are the wrong way around to make it an official henge. After reading all of that, I still don't really know what a henge is. If you don't have a toilet plunger and you've clogged it up, pour in a bit of dish soap and some hot water. The hotter, the better. Let stand for 15 minutes and flush. Learned this when immediately upon arriving at our hotel, my 8-year-old clogged up our toilet and I Googled. Found this gem. Realized I'd packed a tiny travel bottle of dish soap, warmed water up in the microwave, and lo and behold, it worked. I still use it sometimes at home when I don't want to be grossed out by plunging. Yes, my child has a tendency to clog toilets, so there you go. Not sure if this is fact or cap, but I guess I'll have to try it out. If your older parents/grandparents are suddenly acting strange? Get them checked for a UTI. In older people, UTIs can cause a psychotic or delusional episode. Fascinating. I don't spend much time around older people, but that is good to know just on the off chance that it happens. At the beginning of every relationship, agree to assume positive intent. Talk about it often, don't forget about it, and make it the most important rule. Fights will be less, empathy will be greater, and your relationship will be stronger. Don't mind me, I'm just gonna write that down there. Perfect, got it. Okay, next one. You are teleported back to 2001, Terminator style, but naked, and end up in the middle of Times Square. What do you do or say to convince people you're not a stoned homeless person? I'd emulate old Biff and try to predict something that I knew would be coming up. They'd at least figure that I was either a time traveler or a psychic. If you really want this plan to go off without a hitch, you need to be sure when you go back in time you have a sports almanac. Did they just see me come out of a ball of electricity? I'll need no explanation. I feel like if you came out of a giant ball of electricity in the middle of Times Square, I'm sure you would have a lot more police on your back. What's the date? I feel the city might be a little preoccupied. Okay, I know what they're talking about. They're talking about the day that Halo Combat Evolved was released and it was really busy at all of the game stores. I'd probably just cry. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will understand that, seeing a crazy naked dude crying in the middle of Times Square. Just normal New York activity. I would start with, your clothes, give them to me now. I'd call 2001 me to wire me some money, then get back home to talk about the next 20 years. I'd be expecting that call, so it wouldn't have been a stretch. See, if I tried to do that, I would be, I'd be 1 year old and that wouldn't work. What's a quote that permanently changed the way you look at things? Let go or be dragged. An old Zen proverb I heard at a meditation class really changed the way I let myself worry about things. Do you listen or just wait to speak? That sounds like a bit of a wake-up call to me. I had a professor in college. He called it the 10-90 rule. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Changed my life. That's actually a really cool way of thinking about it. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not who someone else is today. Honesty without kindness is brutality. Kindness without honesty is manipulation. Girl boss, gatekeep, gaslight. That's all I need. Luck favors the prepared. No wonder I'm so unlucky. I am never prepared. No one raindrop thinks it causes the flood. You might be the sweetest peach on the tree, but some people just don't like peaches. If when you die, someone takes the VR headset off your head and asks you how the virtual life was, what's the first thing you say? Can I have creative mode now? Oh, that would be so awesome seeing somebody just levitating, T-posing through the sky at maximum speed. Are there any autosaves I can load? I'd like to try a couple things over. The AI needs a major buff to their driving ability. That's the only thing Grand Theft Auto got correct, that nobody knows how to drive. Is there anyone from that life who is real here? That's the fun thing. We're actually in the metaverse right now. Leaves negative review. Would not recommend. Boring, buggy, and a huge grind fest. The anxiety feature is way too much, guys. While it might increase your immersion, it can also take you out of it. What's an oh shit moment where you realized you've been doing something the wrong way for years? When I was 5, a Pizza Hut employee told me that the powder on the breadsticks was called fairy dust. Ordered extra fairy dust on my breadsticks until I was around 14 when an employee said, "Do you mean garlic salt?" It still devastates me to realize how obtuse I was. It wasn't very long, but when I was learning to drive, my dad was explaining the rule of thumb regarding a safe distance to be behind the car in front of you. I thought it meant to hold your thumb up, and if your thumb didn't cover the entire car, you were too close to it. When he caught me doing that, he asked me what I was doing. When I explained, he burst out laughing, then considered it, and concluded it wasn't a bad idea, but perhaps a bit distracting. Yeah, that isn't the worst idea. It's still strange, but it works. We bought a nice liquor cabinet. We got it delivered and noticed it was a bit shorter than we thought. No biggie. 3 years later, we're moving. Lift up the cabinet, and these beautiful, ornate, screw-on legs wrapped in tape and bubble wrap fall off the bottom. Looks so much better now. Always inspect your new furniture. You never know what you're gonna find, like required parts for it. Until last week, when my father-in-law would make a phone call on his very basic non-touchscreen flip phone, he would open the menu, scroll to the phone icon, open it, hit the soft key for contacts, scroll to the person he wanted to call, press OK, then press the soft key to call. When he mentioned how he preferred his landline because he could just dial the number, I said, humor me. Just dial the number and hit the talk button. I've never seen a man so simultaneously grateful and embarrassed. A couple years ago, I was trying to open some toothpaste and had to break the seal of the tube. I used to look for something like a nail to break it, then one day I looked at the pointy end of the cap and thought, what if I could use this to break it? And oh shit, it did fit and broke it effortlessly, and so did included every other tube product I had in the house and their respective cap. My mind was blown. I only recently found out that most caps for tube products do that. Unlike YouTube. Ha ha ha. Get it? Because there's a tube in the name? Never mind. What invention is so good that it actually can't be improved upon? I've heard the pin setter machine in bowling alleys have never had a redesign. It was perfect already. Yeah, I can't think of any way you would make it better. I mean, it cleans the pins and puts them back, so that's all you need. P-trap. A simple, elegant way to prevent odor from coming into your house via sink, toilet, etc. I'm not sure what that is, but that doesn't sound like a good name. A mirror is as good as it gets for its usage. While I agree, have you ever been to a fun house? Those mirrors are funky and weird. Paper clips. Last major patent was in 1880. You know what? Because I'm petty, I'm gonna try and reinvent the paper clip. You watch me. Cast iron skillet. Estimated 1707. Yeah, but I don't know how that thing works. The brick. It's been made of mud, then mud with straw, then mud with clay, then finally with clay alone. That is as far as progress has taken the brick in the, guess, 8,000 years since it was invented, and it is still in use today. The only new update you could do to a brick is full metal. Full metal brick. Pizza. You can change it up, you can ruin it, and you can fold it in half like a crazy calzone munching madman, but you can't beat perfection. What are some lesser known secondary uses for an everyday product? Use salt as an abrasive and absorber when cleaning. I spray my stovetop with a general household cleaner, then sprinkle salt liberally over the top. It gets grease out easily. For liquid stains like wine, I pour salt over the stain to soak up excess liquid, then come through with hydrogen peroxide. Finally, I get absorbent towels and dab clean it. Scuba diver here. Instead of using those expensive defogger gels and sprays on your mask, smear a bunch of dish soap in it. Rinse once or twice and your mask will never fog during the dive. You can also use this method to keep your windshield from fogging. Smear a bunch of dish soap on a towel, then rub it all over the insides of your windshield. Take another damp towel and rub the soap off until your windshield is clear. I did this 3 weeks ago and have not had to defog a single time since. Bleach to keep away cockroaches. I used to get big cockroaches in the summer that came up my drain. Ew. My exterminator told me to pour 1 cup of bleach down my drain each week. You have to pour it down the drain in the room you see them. I started 18 months ago and haven't seen a cockroach since. Clear nail polish. Prevent skin going green from brass. Permanently stop fabric from fraying. Same goes with yarn. And sealing paint. The $2 quick dry stuff is the best for me. Add salt to your hand wash to get gasoline smell off. Shaving foam reduces/stops misting on bathroom mirrors and car windows. Toilet seat covers are the same as blotting paper for oily skin. Ew, are you saying you have an oily... Gross. Any cooking oil is a great way to remove the residue from stickers. I don't know if this is recommended, but if you get scratches on wood furniture, I've always taken a matching washable marker, colored over the scratch, and then wiped it with a damp cloth to effectively stain the wood back to match. What was supposed to be the next big thing, but totally flopped? Amazon's shopping buttons. They pushed really hard for those, and I never saw the point. I'm sure mothers loved it when their children decided to play with the Tide Pod button. Crystal Pepsi, new Coke, orange juice and toothpaste flavored Lay's potato chips. Gross. They made those? Yuck. Coney 2012. I don't know if that was the next big thing, but it was a thing. My friend who studies medicine had to install Second Life about 2 years ago for a class meeting. I don't get why they couldn't have used Skype, but okay. McDonald's pizza. Ugh. I remember hearing whispers about those a few years ago. Nothing good. Soap shoes. These were like normal shoes, but you could grind on rails with them via an indent in the sole. If you heard of these things from somewhere that wasn't Sonic Adventure 2, please tell me where, and please tell me where I can buy a pair. They got me there. I have only ever heard of them from Sonic Adventure 2, but I did see people using them back in the day, so I do need to know where you get them. Man, I remember as a kid seeing the Ninja Turtles and Dick Tracy use video comms and thinking it was so cool and wanting one for myself. And now if someone FaceTimes me, I have a panic attack. Yeah, that's, the ways we thought technology would be cool and now it's scary. What is that one fact you know that always makes people respond? And why do you know that? This will get buried, but don't ever bury a dead body in an area without any vegetation. The high nitrogen content in our bodies helps plants to grow, and there will be a weird grassy patch at the top of the burial site, and anyone would be able to spot it. Yeah, why do you know that? Where's the body? If you're allergic to chocolate, you're usually allergic to cockroaches. What? Where's the connection there? At a single time, the sloth's body mass can be compromised of 1/3 feces. It takes several hours for the sloth to excrete its bowels completely. Me too. Back in the day, poor families would collect their urine so they could sell it to tanners, hence piss poor. If you were poorer than that, well, you didn't even have a pot to piss in. When you drop a human uterus on the floor, it will bounce. First of all, obviously, why do you know that? And two, is this like a common thing you do? A hippo's sweat is red, and I will not be getting close enough to confirm this information. What is older than we think? The first carbonated drink to be sold to the public was invented by Swiss watchmaker and amateur scientist J.J. Schwepp in 1783, who sold his delicious sparkling water to thirsty customers in Geneva. In just 7 years, he was doing business so fast that he moved the factory to London and introduced a new flavor, sparkling lemon, to stand out from competitors who were trying to imitate his drink. The aux connector that we still use for headphones and speakers was invented in 1877. There have been improvements since, but the basics of it are pretty much the same. Beer is thought to be older than bread. It's much easier to fill a jar with wheat and water, let it ferment and brew beer than it is to grind grain, mix it, and bake it. Sharks, as a species, they're older than the rings of Saturn. Alright, I'm gonna need a source on that because that feels very unbelievable. Wristwatches. Queen Elizabeth I got one in 1571. Look, a busy woman like the Queen definitely needs to tell the time, and Big Ben is overrated. The fact that the lighter is older than the match shook my head as a kid. It also gave me the curiosity to question things that seemed obvious. Looks like we got a new Socrates on our hands. Escalators have been around since 1859, though they were called rotating stairs. We are now less than 45 days from April Fool's Day. What long con pranks should be started around now? We spent 2 months in Europe 2 summers ago and rented out the house on Airbnb to cover expenses while gone. One of the renters was a film crew that shot a documentary about a local psychopath who killed a few people. The producers needed a home setting where they could interview witnesses and people who knew the guy or victims. There are plenty of interviews of people describing the murders and how evil this person was that clearly show our living room, guest room, and kitchen in the background. My wife was not involved in managing the Airbnb listing, so while I mentioned the film crew to her 2 years ago, she never asked what it was about, and I'm sure she has absolutely no idea that this footage exists. I plan on just casually coming across the documentary on April 1st and watch it with her to see her reaction. When I was a kid, my grandma had a ceiling fan very high up with a long string attached. Every week, my dad would come over while she was at work and cut a tiny portion of the string off. After a few months, my grandma told us how she was worried she had osteoporosis and was shrinking because she can no longer reach the string. It was hilarious, but more than that, it was awesome to see my grandma hitting my dad after he told her. I've been sending a picture of creepy clowns to a buddy via text from a Google Voice number for 4 months now, occasionally with a line like, "Do you want to hear a joke? Why aren't you home right now?" when I know he's at the bar. He's asked every one of our friends if it's them other than me, and now shouts at the bar, "Oh great, my effing creepy clown is texting me again," anytime he gets the text. I've now purchased a handful of items from Amazon like a clown nose, similar wig, makeup kit, and his roommates are gonna leave them laying around the house where he sits on the couch or in the shared bathroom. Ultimately, on April 1st, we'll be hanging a clown mask in his garage where they hang out after hours after the bar, and we will reveal that it was me doing this. He's either going to be in tears laughing or will surely murder me. Completely worth it when I see him freak out from time to time. Ah, that's the sound the colon D makes. Ah. A while back, I got an app that could send an error message to a computer with customized text. For a few weeks, I would send sporadic messages like monitor error 1003, monitor sync error, etc. On April Fool's Day, I sent the message, monitor radiation shield has failed. Please step back 5 feet. My great-grandpa got his kids to start cracking hard-boiled eggs on their foreheads. Then, on April 1st, he gave my great-uncle a raw egg. Oh, the classics. Oh man, I have 500 bouncy balls at home. I should start doing stuff with them. I like that he didn't even have an idea, he just knows he has potential. Do bosses like Michael Scott actually exist? And if you worked for one, what's your craziest story? I had a boss sneak up behind a middle-aged female employee and pick her up, then immediately drop her down saying, "I didn't think you weighed that much." He could not stop laughing. He was the principal. This occurred during passing period in a crowded middle school hallway. I had a boss once who spent all morning locked in his office. He asked me to come in after lunch where he showed me a handmade graph. He then proceeded to explain that this was a chart of all the sex he had had in his life. "See here, it is blank until I joined the army. Then I went to a hooker here. Then they sent me to Vietnam where hookers only charge $2 per time. That's where you see the big jump. I was on 2 tours but then got shot in the face. I came back home and you see how it just drops to almost nothing. I was astounded." dead. I had a redhead boss who made us all sit down and watch a training video about how we shouldn't refer to him as Ginger because it's bullying. No one had ever called him that. He's just being proactive, I guess. Had a boss who was very peculiar. For instance, he'd open a random closet, look at the stuff inside, then go on a tirade. Look at all this! Who bought all this crap? You did. Oh, well, somebody needs to throw it away. Constant stuff like that. Giving me very Cave Johnson vibes. I had a boss that used to watch me through a gap in the glass partition between our desks. She wanted to see if I was paying attention during meetings. One day, I put a large folder to cover the gap and she freaked. I still laugh when I think about it. Rather than eating a family-sized bag of Doritos in 20 minutes, what are some healthy snack alternatives that can be consumed in large amounts? Add tagine to fruits to get your salty fix. That was not an ad, that was just a good read. Anyways, plain popcorn. A cup of air pop popcorn only has 31 calories and high in fiber. Studies have found that popcorn will fill you up more than any other popular snack, such as potato chips. It is also high volume, having pretty much the same nutritional value as a popcorn kernel. It's also delicious. So delicious and tasty. Probably celery or cucumber. You might be able to get away with watermelon as well. I once went through 3.5 watermelons a week. Watermelon is great. Snap peas. That's a snappy answer. Sorry, don't know why I hyperventilated there. I tend to eat roasted dry seaweed packs. Only like 25 calories a pack and not that much sodium if you get good ones. The Good Bean baked chickpeas with sea salt. I've never heard of that, and I guess I'm gonna have to Google it later. You are teleported into a game of your choice for a month. If you die in the game, you die in real life. But whatever you collect in the game, you can keep in real life. Skills, magic, items, pets, clothes. What game do you pick? Play a Fire Emblem game on casual mode. Learn healing magic. Maybe get a legendary weapon if I'm lucky. If I'm defeated in battle, I just retreat, return to real world, make a killing as a doctor who can heal any physical wound in seconds. You know, I think the Big J Man had the same idea. Portal 2, that gun, man, and the cake. You can just make the cake in real life. Lego Worlds. Even if the studs and items don't become real when I return, I'd still have a bunch of Legos. Also, low risk of dying. Elite Dangerous. I'll just play on solo and grind to get the best ship possible / bunch of ships. Come home and use them to explore the IRL galaxy. Nintendogs. Yeah, I mean, if you can't get a real dog, then get one that's immortal. Adventure Capitalist or freaking Cookie Clicker. Why stop at one grandma? What is something about yourself that sounds totally made up but is 100% real? I built a 13-foot tall T-Rex with Christopher Walken's head, and New York Magazine called it highbrow and brilliant. My dad's name is Luigi and my uncle's name is Mario. They are brothers. I forgot to add that my dad is also a plumber. That's just too good to be true. You cannot be telling the truth. I never graduated high school, but I have a bachelor's degree. I was homeschooled and my mom never went through the legal steps to actually get me a real diploma, so she made me one in Photoshop that was then used to get me into this podunk community college that didn't verify it. From there, I got my associate's degree, which I then used to get into a decent university where I got my bachelor's. I am allergic to lettuce. Like, I carry an EpiPen allergic. It's mostly water, isn't it? I was once sponsored by the Crunk energy drink company for sailing. I imagine I was the only sailor on their list. I literally just emailed them saying that I sailed and asked if they wanted me to put stickers on my boat. They sent me a few cases of the drink, t-shirts, hats, and the works. My car was known as the Crunkmobile. I saw the former Prime Minister of Poland in his underwear. I'm gonna need pictures or it didn't happen. I found out my father wasn't my biological father in 10th grade biology class. We were learning about blood types and traits. I raised my hand thinking I was a smartass. Your chart isn't accurate. My dad has AB negative and I'm O positive. My teacher said, I think your mom has some explaining to do. And we all chuckled. Turned out he was not my father. Oh, I'm so sorry. What are some very creepy facts? If you get a blood transfusion and get the wrong type of blood, ABO, AB, one of the symptoms is a sense of impending doom. There's a genetic disease called fibrodysplasia ossificanus. I can't say that. When tissue is damaged, it is replaced with bone. Growths from underneath their skin and their joints lock solid, so over time, those affected slowly become encased in a prison of bone just beneath their own skin. They usually have to choose between sitting or standing up for the rest of their life. By the end of their life, they have to drink every meal through a straw and can barely move. Bacteria and viruses can be frozen for millions of years and still be viably infectious, and having never encountered humanity before, could have no end of catastrophic results should they be uncovered sword and manage to infect a person or animal. I can smell the zombie apocalypse starting right now. Humans' eyes don't reflect light at night like animals do. I like to say this fact to my wife at a campfire. There is a fungus, cordyceps, that can actually brain control insects, forcing them to move to a higher location where they will eventually die and release more cordyceps spores. Those things have freaked me out ever since the first Last of Us game came out. Ugh, the idea is, oh my lordy. I won't talk about that though. The bottom of Lake Superior is cold enough that the bodies of dead sailors just remain. They don't really decompose because it's at freezing temperatures, so they instead get a coating of whatever that word is. I think that's how it's spelled. Yeah, I don't know either. Which is liquid body fat, hardening around them. Gordon Lightfoot wasn't lying when he wrote, "The lake never gives up her dead." Would you rather be the best at speaking every language or be the best at playing every instrument? Why? Does either skill require upkeep of any kind? Will these skills diminish if I don't keep them sharp? That's a fair question to ask. Ooh, that's tough. Speaking every language would be so amazing because you could communicate with literally anyone. You could talk to anyone on the whole planet, and I bet you could also get a fantastic, well-paid job with that skill. But I don't like people all that much. I'd find it much more personally satisfying to be able to play any instrument. How amazing it would be to be able to express myself with any instrument that exists. You can also be a musician, and that would be way better for me than being an interpreter, so I'd have to go with that. Language. If it's every language, it means I could speak dead languages and translate some of the oldest texts in the world. That would be super cool. Every language, because I would dress like C-3PO and mess with people. Instrument. I am scared of social interaction. That's fair enough. Instrument. If you're the best at any instrument, you can monetize that pretty well. Your consciousness is sent back to when you were age 15, and you maintain all of your current knowledge and experience. What do? Save more money. Take better care of my teeth. Not eat as much junk. Not date people who are just a waste of time. Not worry as much. Appreciate the irreplaceable things more. Not say some mean, wrong things I said. Choose a different career path. I do not install League of Legends. Now that is the first and only good use of time travel. I'm just kidding. If you like playing League, go crazy. Well, knowing me, I don't make the stupid choices I made from the past 31 years. But also knowing me, I would make totally different stupid choices because I'm human. Just because I could now avoid the traps I had fallen into back then, this does not mean I would not fall into different traps. But hopefully the sum total would be a better life. Focus on high school a bit better. Try and keep in touch with my best friend at the time a bit better after she moved across town. Talk with my dad more about family and stuff. Apologize for being a little shit in middle school more. Figure out my major a lot faster. I was in my freshman year of high school. I'd go back and relive those years being completely and totally myself like I should have done way back when. Take better care of my teeth. This seems like a common one, and I would also have to say, yeah, I'd probably do that too. That and invest in Apple or Bitcoin, whatever. If you could single-handedly choose anyone, alive, dead, or fictional, to be the next president of the United States, who would you choose and why? Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the Starship Enterprise, because he's a scholar, a gentleman, a diplomat, and a badass chief officer. Mr. Rogers. I mean, who could say no or be mean to him? Then he would be disappointed in you, and most people wouldn't be able to survive that. A fictional version of me, where I'm much smarter and impervious to corruption. Throw sexy in there too, why not? Minerva McGonagall, a warm, reassuring personality, but strict and no nonsense. As good as she might be, I don't know the legality of a British person being our US president. Who knows though? Sauron, the age of man is over. The age of the orc has begun. Edit. For everyone making like Silmarillion and book references to me, I'm reading the books, but I'm not done them yet. That cat who's mayor of an Alaskan town. Stubbs, I think? He'd do a good job if the residents there are to be believed. Stubbs for 2020. Meow is the time. How do you feel about a friend with benefits? But instead of sexual benefits, it's medical, dental, and pension. I work at an airline. Since I'm not married, I put my best friend as my travel companion, and he basically shares my flight benefits. He now calls me a friend with benefits, and it confuses people. My mom was in the Navy and used to hang out with two married couples who were actually two gay couples who married each other to get better benefits. Smart stuff right there. Smart thinking. No vision? No thanks. That is a requirement if we're going to be friends with benefits. You have to make sure that I can get new glasses. I literally married a girl that had cancer before the pre-existing conditions stuff ended because I was in the army and could get her insurance. She's alive and married to a good dude with kids. Best thing I've done in my life. At least he's not bitter about it ending the way it did. I mean, he saved a person's life. I feel like I'm available for this kind of relationship. Are you some secret CEO? Bezos, is that you? Wife already has that, though the friend part of it is rapidly waning. Yikes, buddy. That's, maybe fix that. And with that, we have come to the end of this video. Bye. I'll see you around. I'll see you later. Goodbye.